what I've done is, you can put the wetland wherever you like. I'm just going to look in here to find a nice area that we can actually put it, which I actually like this little bend here, and it allows us to put in, if we want to put in a little dam, we can put it across here and it will flood itself up into this thing. But what we need to do is we need to find out some more information about this particular land now, because this one is where our wetland's going to go. I've selected that one and I do want to colorize that, but at this point in time I want to select everything that's on that particular Z value. As you know, previously we've worked out our Z value is the height, but for this I'm just going to do a quick selection. I'm going to go and make sure this is correct. Now see this little thing here, it says append to current selection. If you don't have that ticked, it won't actually add it to this selection, it will select the rest of it and then drop that one. But I want it to add it to all these different selections, and I'm going to say my 3D polyline here, because I know it is a 3D polyline, and 3D poly, and my vortex Z will need to equal something. Now at this point in time we don't know what that is because we didn't look at it. Okay, so if you have known that, if you do know the value, add it in now, but for us we need to find out what that value is. And when we go to our properties here, we can look here that our vertex Z is 20. It's 20 meters. You can see up here it is a 3D polyline. So we're going to go back to this now, and again right hand click over it. We need a quick select, make sure 3D poly 3, and this will need to equal 20.00. Now the reason why I turn it to 2 decimal points is because if you've got 4 here, you need to add 4 decimal points to this. Once we have entered that in, we go OK, and you notice it select this other line up here, and if we zoom out you can see it's selected all of the 3D polylines that are equal to that 20. Now what we can do is go to our layers here, our properties here, and instead of color by layer, we're going to change that. We're going to choose our own layer, and we're going to choose a light orange. We don't want it to look too much difference, but we do want to see that there is some difference. So when we're looking at this quickly, we can see where we need to follow with our lines. It's great because that's the one that we need. And if you notice, all of the, see over here, all of the 20-meter lines have been selected, and it gives us a good guide. Now you notice that when we select these lines, each one of these is different, as in it has a start here and it ends over the other side, and these ones aren't joined. So what we are going to do is we're going to look at trying to join these. To join them, it's a fairly simple tool. You come up into your modify tool over here, and down here you've got a little thing called join. When you select on that, you notice it is selected and it says any more to join together. You select the next one that you want to join it together and go through the whole thing. We're only going to select 2 at the moment, and press the return key, and it will actually disappear, but when you click on it again you'll notice that the whole thing is currently joined together now. That's good. So now we only need to select 1. Now this next section we are going to draw in the area that we need for this wetland, and this is just an outline. Now we know that this is 20, this is 19 down here, so we need to draw something in between these two, because I think Paulino said that we've got point 0.5 of a difference, or 0.5 of a metre difference, or 500 millimetres different. So we're going to draw sort of in the middle, and we're just going to follow it around, and we're just going to use this as a guide. But the tool that we are going to use, this is a new tool. Showed you it in class. And the tool that we do need is this particular spline tool here. And this does get a bit tricky. You can see there are different ways to use it. We're going to be using the one that's going over the top of the line, and we found that one the easiest one, or it's the default tool at the moment that will come up. So to do that, I'm going to start over here. I'm going to just draw the line through around about where I think it should go, and draw it in there. And you notice when you start drawing it will automatically render, but it does take a bit of time. If it's not quite where you want it, don't worry too much. We are going to adjust it later on. But the whole idea with this one is to get it in a rough estimate of where you want it to go, and try not to be too particular in where you place it. But you'll also notice the least nodes you put in, the more control or the smoother the line will actually be. So I try not to use very many lines if possible. And we will readjust this later on. As we finish this off. Notice, I'm just going to quickly go through this. Now the thing with, when you get to the end of this is the trick with this one. You need to right hand click and close this line. When you close it, you'll end up with this handle. Can you see it there? If I hold still long enough, you'll see it will render through, but that gives us the position in which we're going to join that line at the end there. My suggestion is just make it nice and smooth. Just drag it out to this point. Looks good. And we'll finish it off by clicking. And that's it for this line. Now all we really need to do is when we select this, we can see now that we need to smooth this out. So again, this is where you do your finer tuning. Okay, that's it there. Looks pretty good. The end here we need to slow. I think we need to bring this one in here. Whoops, too close. Oops. Now if you need to add something to this, you can actually roll your cursor over it and see how it says add fit point. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go down to that and add a point into here because it's not quite going to fit properly. As you can see the plus come up, see it? And I'm going to drop another node in there. It just gives me that flexibility. Okay, and that looks pretty good. Just move this off the edge, tighten this one up a bit. We could probably put a fit to point there, but at the moment I'm going to leave it as is. Look, I think that it's going to look pretty good. And that's it for this particular spline. Now all I need to do is escape, and you can see that it's rendered in there. Now the only other thing I need to do with this line now is put it onto its layer, because we, as you can see, is white. We drew it onto layer 0, and layer 0 is white, we need to put it onto the correct layer, which we'll understand why in a minute. Put it onto my waters layer, and you see it change, so we can actually see where we are. And the other thing we want to do is fill this area with some nice blue fill. Now, currently if we grab our fill tool out, which is here, it will switch for us. You'll find you will end up with a change toolbar when it catches up. Come on. And I'm going to just adjust this a little bit. So it says use solid, which is great. This is the colour, use current. I'm going to change it to that blue that we actually selected for that layer, which I think is that one. Click OK. We're going to turn its opacity down to, I reckon, 75 will do, because I want it to sort of fit in there, but I don't want it to be solid. Now when you look at it, you can see it's there. If I put it onto solid, comes this bright blue. It's too bright, so we're just going to turn it down. That's why I've turned that down. This is 75. The other thing I want you to notice is that when we highlight it, it only highlights one part, and it always tends to highlight it until it's filled, to where the lines intersect, sorry. This is why we put it on its layer. So what we can do now is, we know there's red one, we need to turn that off. We might need to also turn off the watercourse, which is that one. And now we can actually mouse over it. I need to just again pick up the hatch. And you can see now that the whole thing is going to be filled perfectly. And now once that's done, we can turn that layer back on, and the other layer, and you can see it's perfect, the way exactly we want it.